All right, Larry in Southgate. Before the news break, you were explaining us to you're being followed.
Yeah, just under surveillance a lot, and I'm not in any category. Never been in a militia, don't have a computer.
Why do you think you're under surveillance?
Well, I think somebody I might know, politician person.
No. What is it? What are the warning signs that you are under surveillance?
Just the behavior. I noticed
your behavior. Your behavior?
No, I noticed the behavior of other people.
You mean like average people at the mall or driving next to you?
Yeah, they just stare at you, or something. It's like they're supposed to be, say if I walk to the store, and you go to Coinstar, you go to the service desk, you take bottles back.
They watching you?
Yeah, well, no. It's just like they might walk in, at the same time I do, and then 15 minutes later they're still in the first section of like tangerines or something, and so it's just
keeping an eye on you, Larry.
Huh?
Keeping an eye on you.
Oh yeah. But the thing is, it's never going to result in a charge or a conviction. So I think that it's they're thinking that someday somebody that I know, maybe in politics, like I imagine Sheriff Ficano's a friend of the family, things like that.
Are you somebody that people would want to watch?
No, I have nothing going on. I'm a shut-in, actually, and just go to church. And they even have an undercover person that went to my church, joined, and...
How do you know that person was...
Supper, and I think that's kind of wrong.
How did you discover that person was at your church, surveilling you?
He kind of moved into the apartment building I was living in, and...
So a guy in your neighborhood with the close... Is your church close by?
It's got a, you can't walk to it, but it's close.
It's pretty close. So a guy moved into the neighborhood and started going to a church in the neighborhood.
Well, no, he went to a specific one. He went to mine, but, he just, like he never tells no details about his life. It's just, and then, one guy moved into the building and he's like staring in my windows and, they just, their stories just don't match up with anything, but.
Well, at least they're not taking pictures of you like when you go to the grocery store or anything, right?
What's that?
I say at least they're not taking pictures of you at the grocery store.
No, they do. Yeah. Like I was donating some pajamas to an orphanage. Boy pajamas, girl pajamas, and as soon as I walked into the women's department, some guy came up and took a picture on like a cell phone or something. It's just like, so it's like. But
it was specifically of you when you were handling the rutabagas.
Huh?
He took a picture specifically of you when you were handling the rutabagas.
No. He just took a picture of me, shopping in the ladies' department, going to donate pajamas to an orphanage.
Mm-hmm. That might have just been store security creeped out that you were shopping in the ladies' department.
No, it was 3 days before Valentine's Day. It shouldn't be that outrageous, Well,
you were buying kids' clothes, though, right?
Well, it was pajamas, But anyway, it's like it's hard to prove these things, but the money they're spending, it's been going on a long time, and it's never going to result in any charge or any crime that I'm doing. And it's just, it's frustrating on my behalf, but the money they got to be wasting. That's
Larry, I don't
thing.
know if you know this, but radio stations are federally licensed. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, whatever.
They will often monitor us.
Well, I'm sure I'm not talking on a cell phone. I don't think you need a warrant to listen in on a cell phone either, yeah?
No, but we're federally licensed, and, we file reports and whatnot. We got a public file, and they may be listening in.
All right. I mean, they're listening to the phone call anyway on my end. It's a cell phone.
Oh, they're already listening on your end.
Well, sure. It's a cell phone. You don't need a warrant to monitor a cell phone.
But you think they're specifically monitoring yours?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, if I said something like I'm going to walk over to the laundromat, I mean, I go in there and they're, well, like say if I went out at 7 in the morning, there'll be a guy with a well-manicured, well-groomed, short hair, just got a haircut, and he walks around and looks like he's going to pick cigarette butts.
That's weird. That is weird. A guy that is clean-shaven with a new haircut's picking up cigarette butts.
Yeah, just things like that,
that's a big tactic of the CIA. That's a well-known tactic of the CIA.
Oh, well, I know you're trying to make fun of me, but, I mean, there are people employed as undercover people. I mean, they have functions, I'm just saying it's never going to result in a charge on my case. And, that's about it, I guess. They're just wasting a lot of money. If there's somebody that could, look at whoever's running this Southgate operation, it's not
let me just say, Larry, I am now firmly convinced that it is not a waste of money for them to be watching you.
Okay.
I've just got to tell you, Larry, maybe not for the reason you're thinking they are, but watching you is probably a wise way to spend our tax dollars.
Doc Thompson.